This won't be a long lesson. I'll share some of the ways I've seen type systems labeled by other designers and other design systems, but in general, there is no one single right way to do it. Each project and team has different requirements, goals, and processes. As long as the naming convention you're using works for you and your team, then you're doing it right. When it comes to any kind of naming, I do like to keep the name reflect the usage. The best way I can describe it is if someone else joins a project, would the names make sense to them? Would those help them find the right style for the use case or the screen that they're working on? For example, if there are more levels of body text, I might use large, medium, and small to differentiate them based on a very visible attribute. Or I might name the larger one lead and the smaller one normal or without an attribute and just call it body text. So that would result in body text and body text lead, for example. When it comes to headings, I usually differentiate between headings and subheadings since subheadings require a level above somewhere on the screen and headings do not. However, I can also have multiple levels of headings and I might again name them large, medium, small, or use a very common web practice of naming them like H1, H2, and H3. Heading large might be used for the biggest, most important titles on important screens. However, on a page like Terms and Service, I might never use a heading large, so I have different, smaller levels of headings for those use cases. Even though when it comes to SEO and hierarchy of the page, it would be technically H1 on that screen, visually it doesn't have to be as dominant. All other styles I would again name based on the use case. Card title, body text link, body text bold, form label, footer label are some of the examples that come to mind. I've also seen designers assign color directly to styles like primary, secondary, interactive, error, and so on. Most of these are connected to styles found in UI input fields and form UI elements. An important thing to note is that in Figma, you will need to have multiple styles for the same style in the finished product. That happens when you're working with responsive typography, since you will have to define heading large for all of the devices or sizes you have breakpoints for. You might also define a specific style for body text bold, even though in development, it would only have the body text defined as its own style. If you're working with other design tools like Sketch, when you're designing styles, you might also have to include alignment in the style. It depends on how your tool works, but you can switch alignment on a style in Figma without it being detached. To sum up, there is no one right way all teams in the world use. Size-based naming systems, semantic naming systems, or descriptive naming systems are most commonly used. I prefer a mix of descriptive and size-based system, but that's a personal preference and something that ended up working for me most of the time. What seems like the way to go for you?